Welcome to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's Inside the Leader Studio. I'm Luis Campillo, president of the CHCI Alumni Association, a former public policy fellow, Congressional intern, and scholarship recipient. CHCI's Inside the Leader Studio brings together today's foremost Latino leaders to discuss issues of education, leadership, and the national imperative to educate Latinos. Joining us today, we have Ray Dempsey, president of the BP Foundation and CHCI 2012 and 2013 Public Policy STEM Fellows Morgan Brandt and Michael Bueno, whose fellowships are directly supported by the BP Foundation. Thank you so much for joining me here this evening.
It's a pleasure.
So let's start with Michael. Tell me a little bit about your experience, about the impact that the CHCI fellowship has had to you on this point, up to this point.
Well, sure. I mean, it's been a real eye-opener in terms of the opportunities that are available for me of what I wanted to do. I had a really clear set out path for me in terms of, graduating college, I'd get a master's degree, get into academia straightforward. But this has really given me a good immersive experience in terms of policy and government. And I feel like there's so many more opportunities for me to expand and take a different direction, in my passion, say science policy. So it's been fantastic.
That's great to hear. How about you, Morgan?
I'm very similar. I never thought that there would be a place for my interests in science and public health in government and in politics, and being part of the CHCI Public Policy Fellow has shown me that there is a place and I can succeed here and I can find a job in what I'm interested in while still impacting a broader community. That's
great to hear. So can both of you talk about how has this experience shaped your plans for the future? How are you going to pursue your passions within science? Has that helped you get a little bit more direction, or what's your process like so far?
Sure. I graduated with a degree in environmental science, so I always had the inclination that I'd be doing something around the environmental field. But this has really opened, sort of given me a newer path in terms of going more in a broader aspect of science policy in general, both within domestic policy and international issues regarding science policy. So going through AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and then now working on the House Committee on Science, Space and Technology has really given me a direct viewpoint in terms of how science and government policy and affairs really merge together at that intersection.
That's great. What about you, Morgan?
Well, coming from a neuroscience background, I really got interested in mental health, and through mental health, I found it was a broader part of public health. So in my time here, I've worked at the American Public Health Association, and now being on the Hill, I'm seeing how the policies that placement was interested in translates into policies for the nation and even for the world. So in the future, I could see myself working with a global organization which is something I'd never considered before.
That's great to hear. And we need global leaders, especially in nowadays. Ray, thank you so much for joining us here today.
You bet.
So tell me a little bit about your relationship with CHCI. How has it evolved through time, and how does it feel to sort of see the concrete example of what your contributions, your support, with the difference that they're making in our community?
BP, Luis, has been involved with the CHCI for several years, but only on sort of a superficial level. It's only in just the last 2 years that the BP Foundation has funded the Fellows Program. And I'll tell you, it's been an extraordinary experience. It's a program that is pretty unique in that you can see the output, you can see the impact that CHCI is able to have in the community, in your person, in fact.
Yes.
Luis, with the experience that you had as a CHCI fellow and scholarship recipient, what I can do when I go back into my company and when I talk with my colleagues of the BP Foundation is say that this works. There's a real impact in the community. There's extraordinary learnings that are taking place by the fellows, and when they complete this program, they go back and they make a real difference in our society and in the United States and shaping public policy, and that's something that matters a lot to all of us.
That's great. And what are some of the components that you think that make working with CHCI a little bit different through, I'm sure that the BP Foundation supports a lot of worthy causes, but what differentiates CHCI from some of the other groups that you work with?
There's a couple of things that stand out for me in the relationship with CHCI. The fact that there's a bit of a family feeling. The support and the camaraderie and the relationships that are built between the fellows as a cadre, and between the supporters and the organization, the staff, is genuine. There's a real shared sense of commitment that this is not just a job, but it's a work of our hearts and of real passion, because we know what difference it makes for America. It's also true, though, that the support that the organization, the staff, has been able to secure from around the Washington, D.C. community, and particularly members of Congress, is notable. When there's a CHCI event, whether it's a reception or a dinner or a larger event like the conference that we hold in the fall, there's always a substantial presence by the most important and notable and senior leaders, not just in the Latino community, but in the United States, and that matters a lot.
That's great, because like you say, it makes a difference having them there, but also serve as role models and mentors to the program participants. So Morgan, tell me a little bit about how you plan to stay connected with CHCI, and how are you going to contribute your part to make sure that others have the same opportunities that you had through this program?
Definitely. The Alumni Association has played a really big role in my placements in CHCI, and not just my placements, but in my social life and just helping me out. And so I will definitely be participating in Alumni Association
Makes me happy.
events and activities. So at my university, there's a large Latino student organization that keeps growing and needs resources, and so I will be reaching out to them and hopefully getting some of them to become CHCI fellows and interns, and benefiting them in that way.
That's great. And how about you, Michael? How do you plan to stay connected and make sure that the opportunities are paid forward?
Well, I'd have to echo Morgan's comment about the Alumni Association. I'd definitely be participating in that in the future, because all of you have been just fantastic. Not only giving us sort of a stable group to be with here in DC. It's been a new experience for all of us. Mm-hmm. So having people that we know who are opening up their homes to us, just to hang out, to talk, has been fantastic. So I definitely want to keep that going and see if I can bring other people into that same group as well. The fellows have developed a pretty good dynamic with each other. We've become very close friends. So I'm pretty sure that network is going to stay with us in the long term, and also it's going to help us branch out to, if we decide not to stay in DC, if we decide to go back home, say to Texas, Georgia, California, wherever it may be, I'm sure we're more than likely going to reach out to people there and say, hey, there's this program for Latinos that will really benefit you and benefit the wider community.
Luis, the changing demographics in the United States means that the work that CHCI does to help prepare the future leaders from the Latino community is urgent and just critically important. And our participation in the program and my personal interaction with the fellows and others involved in CHCI has been a terrific learning experience, and I mean that actually as a two-way experience.
Right.
I'm an engineer by background, but not quite a scientist, and so the provocation has been valuable. I don't know, Luis, how many neuroscientists you know, but
not that many.
we can count Morgan, and so the reality is that the extraordinary group of people that come through this program, they really are the future leaders for our country, and the opportunity to be engaged and to learn and to share and then to continue to build on those relationships over time is really meaningful and valuable for me personally, and certainly for my organization.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, and thank you all for sharing a little bit about the impact that CHCI has had in your individual lives. And thank you for joining us. Please look at our website to learn more about CHCI's programs and leadership development opportunities. And thank you again. We look forward to seeing you soon.